From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
And welcome back to Jamestown, everyone. It's week 2 of our 4-week stay here in the Southern Tier. My name is Paul Peck with Hall of Fame bowlers Sue Novoitsky and Janelle Sabin. We got off to a good start with some excellent bowling in week 1, Sue. Week 2 figures to maybe even be better because we've got Tony Dolan coming back. We've got 2 other Jamestown bowlers, and we've got Chuck Jagodzinski on the show, who we know can win in this bowling house.
Well, it's 2 great Buffalo bowlers, but we still have a Jamestown bowler that needs bragging rights here. So it's an opportunity for them to step up to the plate and be the guy that represented Jamestown.
Right, and speaking of great bowling, you don't just man the scoreboard. You got a little bowling in here at the Jamestown Bowling Company. How'd that go for you?
It was pretty fun. Few gutter balls, but I did get a couple strikes in there.
Right, see, so Janelle is multi-talented. So is Sue, and we've got all kinds of talents to show you. 4 great bowlers on the show today, so let's get rolling. First match of the day is Jamestown bowler Mark Blasdell on the right and Tony Dolan, who returns as our champion from last week. Tony coming up with a 245-201 win over George Shableski to wrap up week 1 here at the Jamestown Bowling Center. And for Tony Dolan, this is his 11th different appearance on Beat the Champ. An overall record of 8 wins and 8 losses. So Tony's looking to go on a roll, and that's a pretty good way to start it.
Yeah, he knows he's bowling somebody who really hasn't been competing in the last 3 years. So there's a mindset there to, you want to put the pressure on early.
Yeah, Mark Blasdell's story is he's a teacher here in Jamestown. He is 35 years old, but he's been away from the sport for about 3 years and just starting to get back into it. So that is a bit of an interesting dynamic of the bowlers that we see on Beat the Champ are guys that bowl 2, 3, 4 times every week, and they've been doing it for 30 years, and here's a guy who hasn't. But he does know here, he does know the Jamestown Bowling Company, and he is comfortable here. Like us on the Beat the Champ Facebook page and on Twitter at Beat the Champ TV. Hashtag Beat the Champ for all your latest information, and it's a spare for Mark Blasdell to begin things. So it's an interesting contrast in styles here. You've got Tony Dolan, who probably bowls as much as anybody in Western New York, against a guy who doesn't really bowl very much, and he doesn't bowl very much outside of here.
Well, lucky for him, he is here.
That's right.
And, you know, he did make TV shows before, so it's not his first TV show. It's just his first TV show in a while.
Got it.
And our past competitor, George Shableski, was another person who left bowling for a little while and came back to it and with full force 4 nights a week. So it's nice to see people come back to the sport.
Well, as you saw in the beginning of the broadcast, Tony listened to our commentary last week about him trying to get a little more intimidating, and you saw the mean face and the dark sunglasses on Tony Dolan. We had a little fun with him about that, and he was great about it.
Yeah, we'll continue to work on him a little bit.
Yeah. Like I alluded to in the last show, you're going to give him some mean and nasty lessons. There's Janelle Sabin on the early look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard as Tony tries to grab the spare here in his first frame or second frame, and he does. So spare strike for each guy in the first 2 frames. Tony Dolan's from West Seneca, 40 years old, a 234 average. He bowls 4 nights a week. One of the top bowlers in Western New York, 2015 Obenauer Masters champion, Buffalo Bowler of the Year in 2015 as we turn the calendar here on the start of 2017. That doesn't have anything to do with Tony still being one of the best bowlers in town. And there's a 3rd frame strike for Tony Dolan. And now we turn it back over to Mark Blasdell. 35 years old, from right here in Jamestown, a 231 average, even though, as you mentioned, Sue, he does not even bowl in the league right now. So we talk about the contrast. Tony Dolan bowls in leagues 4 nights a week and probably finds places to bowl the other 3 nights. And you've got a guy here in Mark, who's a teacher with a young family, maybe doesn't have the time. He's not bowling in a league at all right now.
Yeah, he said he just got the bug back to bowl. So this was certainly, this is a nice start to your career back to bowling, is making a TV show.
Yeah, as we've mentioned, we had 9 bowlers qualify for this month's series of shows here, and 6 of them are Jamestown natives who have never bowled on our show before, but bowl here at the Jamestown Bowling Company. Mark included in that group, and unfortunately can't get the spare in the third frame, so that's an open in the third for Mark Blasdell. So it was an interesting mix, and that certainly will be magnified in our next match because Chuck Jagodzinski is our next bowler up, and Chuck won 5 matches in a row here in Jamestown over the summer, and he's been one of our most successful beat the champ bowlers.
Right, and this is where he really developed his confidence level because he made his debut here in Jamestown and then went on to look like he was unbeatable. I mean, you literally swept the whole time here. I mean, there wasn't a show we didn't have him on while we were here.
That's right.
So he definitely feels comfortable in this bowling center.
And the other interesting little tidbit as Mark grabs the fourth frame spare is if Mark Blasdell can get on a run and he can win 3 matches in a row, guess who he would bowl in the next match? His brother, who is also on our qualifying list today. His brother Andy will lead off as one of the bowlers on next week's show. We've not had a brother versus brother match so far yet.
No, almost with Jeff and Joe Pullman, but that never came.
They never matched up, but they were both in one show but never got to each other. So Tony leaves the 7-pin up here in the 4th frame. It's an early deficit for Tony, but he'll make up on that quickly.
Well, that is the trick to figuring this bowling center out, is to get the corner pins out. And, sometimes you just can't. Sometimes, we talked about kickboards and we talked about, what makes a place carry better than another place. And on these slicker conditions, Jim alluded to the fact that these are a little slicker synthetics that makes the ball carry down a little bit more. You'll see more corner pins when that happens.
So Tony with the pin advantage at the moment as he moves to the 5th frame. And again, as we talked a lot about in last week's show, as the only lefty so far, Tony's working a different side of the lanes, and the righties have found them awfully tricky. At least they did in the first week's show.
Right, and we had the right-handers play with different styles, playing different parts of the lane, and that really just makes them, kind of squirrely and do different things. They become unpredictable when people are using different areas of the lane. But Tony will now start to deal with carry down because he's been, he's had a few matches there on the left-hand side. So we have a lefty coming up today as well. So we'll see more change on the left side like we did on the right.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Hello, Jamestown guys. We've got some bragging rights here if you can come out and get some victories, because we haven't seen a Jamestown person rise to the top yet.
I know. I see the Buffalo guys throwing the ball well over there, so I'd like to be the first Jamestown guy to get the victory.
And there's an added function here. You're going to be meeting your brother if you can win. Is that right?
Yeah, we figured it out. I think I got to win 3 or 4, so yeah, we've got it figured out in the back of our minds.
Is there any family bet going on?
Not that I know of. I'll have to go talk to him, I guess.
What do you average here at Jamestown?
Well, I've actually been off bowling for a couple of years, but 231 about 3 years ago. Last league I bowled here.
Are you bowling league this year?
I'm not. I'm just got back into it probably about a month ago, so you'll see me back next fall.
Wow, that's terrific. And you made the show right off that, huh?
Yeah, just got the itch to try to, go out and bowl again, and saw this was going to be in town, so figured give it a shot.
Mark Blasdell has his wife and his daughter here cheering him on at the Jamestown Bowling Company. Good, nice hook, nice rotation, good strike, 7th frame for Mark Blasdell.
We should mention that the qualifiers have started for our next month here at Kearns Avenue. We'll be back in the city of Buffalo next month, and they started today. So this show airs at 4, so there'll be a 6 p.m. squad if this makes you feel like bowling. And the next squad will be, they have 2 evening squads the week of the 17th and the 19th. They're having 7 p.m. evening squads. So if you can't make the weekend, you get the ability to come out at night. And then the following weekend, the 21st and 22nd, 2, 4, and 6 again. qualifying squads.
And that'll be back at the Kearns Avenue Bowling Center. You can see our buddy Dan, the owner over at Kearns Avenue. That was our second show back in start of 2016. We had a lot of fun over there. It's a great old historical bowling center in Buffalo on the east side, and we had a lot of fun there. We're back there again next month. So Mark Blasdell with the double, but now it's Tony Dolan with the triple, 3 strikes in a row.
Well, Mark did what he had to do, and that was come up and, keep the pressure on Tony to continue to have to strike.
There's the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. Janelle Sabin, who got a little bowling in the night before our taping to really get a feel for how these lanes are going to work out, right? She's a much better scorekeeper when she has a feel for the lanes.
Great shot.
Speaking of feel for the lanes, that's Tony Dolan right now with 4 in a row. And he's built himself a nice, sizable lead.
Well, he's up 24, but it's up to Mark, just has to strike to keep it at 24.
This is the 9th frame for Mark Blasdell. And it's going to be the picket fence on the right-hand side, 3, 6, and 10, and that's not the result he needed with Tony Dolan on the string that he's on. I think the look on Mark's face told you that as well, too. So this could be, back to you, and that's just the builder's frame. Here we are in the 9th, and it certainly looks like it may be a determining frame here in this match. Good spare pickup by Mark.
Well, Tony's got 2-teen no matter what he does. He's going at a 2:20 pace, so he's really got this match shut out. Mark can only finish with a 2:02.
So one of the interesting things we talked about coming into last week's show, as we looked at the lineup of bowlers here, we had the 6 Jamestown bowlers who bowl here, but were all making their debuts on Beat the Champ, and none of them have won yet.
I know, and we really
0 for 3 so far.
Thought that would be, that would just be a different dynamic, is, having a comfort level for this place, and, a shorter drive. You just come from home. People from Buffalo have had to travel, an hour and a half to get here, and that can be tough on you too. Still, the Jamestown bowlers have yet to rise to the top.
And that may have more to do with being first-time Beat the Champ bowlers than it does Jamestown bowlers, because that's been through the first year of this show. I wish I had the stats in front of me, and maybe I'm going to go back and do a little research for you. What the record of first-time bowlers is. It's not very good. There haven't been a lot of wins for first-time bowlers. Now, granted, everybody has been a first-time bowler at some point here, but the debut bowlers have struggled a bit. And Mark Blasdell is in that group, and he'll put a 191 on the board here, and it's not going to be enough to beat Tony Dolan.
Well, certainly this isn't anywhere near the league condition, environment, I should say. The condition might be the same, but the environment is completely different. You have your buddies around you. There's a lot of commotion. There's activity on every lane around you. This is different. There's nothing going on around you. It's silent. Everyone's eyes are on you. Not the same as bowling league.
And that adjustment has been difficult, maybe more difficult than you and I even thought it would be for some of the bowlers.
Well, for any of us Classic League bowlers who have had, the opportunity to shoot an honor score, and, you get up in the 10th frame with the first 9 in a row, and everyone stops bowling and gets quiet and starts watching you. All of a sudden, the heart starts pounding, and you breathe a little, you start to breathe a little heavier. You get very nervous, and this is the same environment where everyone's stopping to watch you, and it's just not the same.
All right, so can Tony Dolan finish with 7 consecutive strikes? And the answer is no, but 6 out of the last 7 is still pretty impressive and still good enough to give Tony Dolan a 246 to 191 victory over Mark Blasdell. That's 2 in a row for Tony Dolan. He's on a little bit of a run here, which we haven't seen from Tony, but he's starting to bowl really well and starting to find his groove.
That's right. It must be his new intimidator
That's
attitude.
right. It must be the sunglasses, must be the shades. So we'll talk to Mark Blasdell about his Beat the Champ Champ debut and get you ready for a battle of the Titans in our next match. We'll tell you about that when we return. It's the Jamestown Bowling Company hosting this week's edition of Beat the Champ. Well, Mark Blasdell comes up a little short against Tony Dolan, 246 to 191. Your debut appearance here on Beat the Champ. What was it like for you?
Oh, it was a good feeling. Like I said, I'm just getting back into bowling, so it was great to get out there, get the competitive juices going, and Tony bowled a good game, so tough to beat.
Yeah, we were talking, Sue and I were, that we thought the Jamestown guys were going to have some advantages built in here, and it hasn't turned out to be the case. What's your theory why?
I really don't know. Like I said, I've been out of it, so I'm not, really familiar with the lanes. I guess they've been a little bit different this year, so I don't know. I have no theory, I guess.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. We've got a few more Jamestown guys, including Mark's brother, coming up later on throughout the next couple of weeks. But Jim Mee from the Jamestown Bowling Company here. Jim, you still got a little bit of prize money to give to Mark.
I got a $50 cash prize, Jamestown Bowling Company, and it's great to see you back at the game.
All right, thanks, Jim.
All right, so Mark Blasdell coming up a little short, but our next match, Tony Dolan and Chuck Jagodzinski. Sue will get us ready for that match. When we return, you're watching Beat the Champ from Jamestown, New York.
I'm here with Chuck Jagodzinski, who this was the first place we saw Chuck, and we've seen him a lot since then. What makes you like Jamestown Bowling Company so much?
I don't know. It's hard to carry, so you make your spares. Bowl 6, 40, 50, you make the cut.
So what you're saying is being consistent is the name of the game here, and not a lot of strikes, but definitely being consistent on your spares.
Yes. If you make your spares, you'll do fine, unless somebody throws a big run. But other than that, the last time I was here, I averaged a 215, and I won 5 shows. So.
Well, speaking of a big run, that was a big run, and we hope you can start another run today.
I wouldn't mind it either.
Well, this figures to be one of the greatest matches we've ever had on Beat the Champ, as Tony Dolan takes on Chuck Jagodzinski, and Sue, the numbers back that up. Between the two gentlemen, they have combined for 17 Beat the Champ wins and 5 Beat the Champ trophies. And between the two of them, this is their 20th combined show. So if we've ever had a match with two of the greatest guys going head to head, this figures to be it.
Well, I feel like this is Saturday afternoon PBA, and I'm Bo Burton and you're Chris Schenkel, and we get to watch some really good bowling and talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, these are Hall of Fame level guys who have bowled against each other for a long time, have won everything there is to win in Western New York, and this figures to be a really exciting match, and Tony Dolan starts it off with a spare, and now we get our first look at Chuck Jagodzinski, 49 years old, from Lancaster, coming in on his 8th Beat the Champ show. 8 wins, 4 losses, 3 weekly trophy wins, including 2 of them here at Jamestown during the summer.
Yep, this is where we met Chuck the first time, and we've seen a lot of him since.
He won 5 matches in a row here at the Jamestown Bowling Company when we were here over the summer, and in one of the more memorable moments and series of moments in Beat the Champ's revival was Chuck makes his debut, wins 5 matches in a row, then loses to Matt White, the Warren, Pennsylvania native, who then proceeds to win 6 matches in a row. We haven't had a series of streaks like that at all on this show. But obviously this is a place that Chuck is comfortable at and bowls very well at.
Yeah, so, he's almost as much of a house bowler here as, our Jamestown bowlers, because he definitely has that comfort level that this is a winning place for him.
And it's a very much a contrast in styles as well, too. Not only bowling styles, but personality styles.
Absolutely. Although they're both great competitors, their approach to the game and their approach to keeping their emotions in check are very, very different. Tony is as calm and easygoing as it goes, and Chuck is very passionate.
Well, it's 2 spares for Tony Dolan against 2 strikes for Chuck Jagodzinski. So now let me tap into your experience. In your Hall of Fame bowling career, you got an early look there at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, Janelle Saban manning that as always. In your bowling career, there have been times when you have gone up against that person who maybe you thought was as good as you, maybe better, maybe someone who thought they were as good as you. What goes through your mind that might be going through the mind of these 2 guys right now?
Well, your success, the success you've had, definitely plays a part. Like earlier in my career, like after college, and I had a lot of good things happen, a lot of titles. You know, you come in there and you don't think anybody can beat you. And I think that, you know, Chuck probably has that feeling because he's hard to beat here. But you see the ebbs and flows of the match, that right there, he didn't expect to happen. So now all of a sudden, you start to second guess whether you're in the right spot or not. And this is just the wave of emotion that goes through a game. Even in the sport of bowling, one single game, you'll see an ebb and flow and things change.
Or you see a disappointing shot like that and you go, I can't do that anymore, or I'll never beat this guy.
Right, which is honestly the worst thing you can do in bowling is think in terms of negative. You want to say, I'm going to move right on the next one and I'm going to move my eyes down the lane. Don't ever think don't do that, because the minute you think don't do it, it's a lock that you're going to go up and do it.
Well, there you go. It couldn't have been a better example out of seeing Chuck come right back with a strike after the spare. So 3 strikes in the first 4 for Chuck Jagodzinski. Tony Dolan working off his first strike in frame number 4. So I don't know how else to say it other than a battle of titans as the 40-year-old Tony Dolan from West Seneca battles his way here against Chuck Jagodzinski.
No, well, he hasn't missed the pocket, so for him it's just going to be a slight little tweak. That's a little aggravating. There's a ring 7 for him.
You saw the spin around there from Tony, who knew that he didn't want to leave that 7 hanging up.
Well, yeah, it's like, what else can I do other than put it right there and ball hit as hard as it should? So it's just one of those unfortunate ring 7s. You can't change anything. You can't do anything about it. You just got to make the spare and move on.
Let's see if Tony can pull that off. He can. So 3 spares and a strike in the first 4 for Tony Dolan. And again, this one is tight, as we expect it to be all the way down the stretch. You know, there are not 2 bowlers who fill up the section of their bio sheet under what leagues do you bowl in more than these guys. Tony Dolan bowls 4 nights a week, Mondays at Broadway, Wednesdays at Spare Time, Fridays at Abbott, Saturday in the Travel League. Meanwhile, Chuck Jagodzinski, he would like there to be a few more days added so he can bowl in other leagues. Sundays at Wimbledon, Mondays at Broadway, Tuesdays at Island, Wednesdays at Rapid, Thursdays at Alden, Fridays at Classic. What is Chuck doing on Saturday?
Filling in the Travel League.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing, but it does not, it has everything to do with these 2 guys being the best, 2 of the best guys in Western New York.
And Chuck makes his way around the city. I mean, he doesn't even stay in one area. He doesn't stay in one neck of the woods. He's from Alden to Niagara Falls
to Grand Island.
Right. West Seneca, Wimbledon. He is. All that does is just make you that much better of a bowler.
And he does all of that with 230 cumulative averages, which is amazing, including a 244 average at Wimbledon on the Sunday night league that he bowls in.
Wow.
We're going to be back with more Beat the Champ bowling action in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Winner of this match takes on another one of our Jamestown bowlers, Terry Parson. And there's 3 in a row for Tony Dolan. The silent assassin is starting to find his range here. Maybe it was those sunglasses that have done the trick.
Great shot.
We had to make up for the fact that this is the first time in about 7 months that we haven't had a bowler wearing shorts in competition, so we needed Tony to wear those sunglasses. Big strike for Chuck Jagodzinski in the 7th frame.
Well, it's hard to believe that there's a predicted blizzard today, and we do have an upcoming. Our next person is wearing shorts.
We do, huh?
Yeah.
How about that?
Warming up on the practice pair in his
Right.
shorts.
All right, so now you talked about it. We haven't had a bad leave like Chuck just left here with the baby split.
Yeah, and this lane 17 is the one that we've seen people be challenged by because the dry is drier and the wet is wetter, and that creates that wet-dry condition we talked about
So it's
last week.
4-10 split. Chuck cannot grab them both. So that's an open in the 8th for Chuck Jagodzinski. And when you get this late in a match against this level of competition, you circle that one.
That is huge. Tony's really in the driver's seat here now, and all he has to do is make good shots, and this is when bowlers of this caliber can really bear down and just put the hammer down, because this is where he knows he can close it up right here.
And that 7-pin will not go down, so not quite ready to close it up yet.
Tony's going to have nightmares about that 7-pin.
Well, again, it's the left-handers version of the 10-pin that we've seen a lot of guys struggle with so far through our first 5 matches here in Jamestown. Important spare pickup. Tony gets it, 8-frame spare. And that makes this a much tighter match than it was
sure
about
does. He could've-
30 seconds ago.
He could have, put a lot of pressure on him, but instead we're pretty much even.
It's only a narrow 4-pin.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we've got, it just turned over. It's actually a 24-pin lead for Tony.
Okay, gotcha. Big strike. Big answer by Tony Dolan in the 9th frame.
There's that 9th frame again, so he puts himself in a position to finish out with a 238.
So let's see what Chuck can do with his final 2 frames. Well, that's the way to keep yourself in the match.
So Chuck can go off the sheet for 214, which would make Tony have to get a spare. So he still needs Chuck needs all 3 of these just to force Tony to spare.
Okay, so there's your setup. Tony Dolan in the driver's seat at the moment. What a fun match. Exactly what we expected with 2 of the best guys we've seen on this show. Ooh.
Well, he definitely got that one to the right. He's using the dry.
Do we have a name for that? Because I don't think I've seen a leave like that yet on the show.
No, that's 2 splits in 1.
Okay. You mean you crazy bowlers haven't come up with a term for that one yet?
That is 2 splits in 1. The 4-9 is... Wait a minute.
You got names for everything in this sport, and I found something that you don't have a nickname for? So a disappointing finish for Chuck Jagodzinski leaves him at a 178. And now it's just safe, simple throws for Tony to get himself a win, and that's a nice way to do it with a strike in the 10th frame. I can't go anywhere around Western New York with someone either correcting me or telling me, you should have called it that, or you didn't call it this. And I said, I can't keep up of all of these lingo
I think that
things.
you crazy bowlers is going to come back and bite you.
Well, I say that as a compliment and a term of endearment. All right, now how about that? We got something for that?
That's your Greek church you like.
The Greek church, okay.
It just looks opposite to you because he's throwing with the other hand.
All right. Well, Tony will knock whatever he can down here to get his final score posted. And he gets 3 of the 5 left, and it's a 221 for Tony Dolan, and a 221 to 178 victory for Tony Dolan over Chuck Jackson. That was a lot of fun to watch. It really didn't end the way that Chuck certainly wanted it to end, but that was a lot of fun to watch.
It was, and now it's tough for Chuck. He's such a competitor, and he's gonna be sitting reliving the shots that he didn't like the way they turned out.
So you're
for another
glad
hour,
you don't have to interview him, but I do.
That's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're saying. Well, Sue will get to stay here nice and comfortable. I will have to go deal with Chuck, who not likely is going to be very happy. But as we always do, we're going to talk to him, and that'll be next, and we'll get you ready for our next match. Tony Dolan's won 3 in a row. Got one more to finish things out here on week 2 in Jamestown. We're back with more of Beat the Champ right after this. Our final score is 221 to 178 as Tony Dolan beats Chuck Jagodzinski. It was a lot of fun to watch, Chuck. It was a great matchup of 2 outstanding bowlers. I know you're not happy with the way things went, but getting a chance to bowl Tony under settings like that, is that fun for you at all as a bowler?
Yeah, it's fun, but left lane had so much oil on it, I had to throw it so slow, then I just lost control of the ball because I was throwing it too slow. But if I throw it faster, it won't even hit the head pin, so I didn't know what to do. So.
I'm sure you came in with a lot of confidence, having been very successful here over the summer in Jamestown. Did you feel good coming into this?
Yeah, good. It wasn't as tight as the left lane, so I felt good, but I didn't know how to get the ball in the pocket on that lane. I threw it too slow, paid for it, got a little faster, I left the 10 pin, so just couldn't get no strikes.
Right. Well, feel free to take up any complaints you might have with this guy, right? No, I'm just kidding. But Jim has at least got something to give you and make you feel a little bit better.
Lefties stick together.
Jim, go ahead.
I've heard that before. Chuck, I got a little something for you, a little $50 cash prize from Jason Bowling. Thanks for bowling, and maybe better luck next time, pal.
Thank you.
All right, Chuck Jagodzinski gave us a lot of fun to watch here in the match with Tony Dolan. Tony's going to bowl another one. We'll get you ready for that one when we return to Beat the Champ at the Jamestown Bowling Company.
All right, Terry, you're a league bowler here at Jamestown Bowling Company?
Usually. This year I'm bowling at Seneca at Central Lanes, so took a year off from this house, and we'll see what happens.
Well, you know, we've had a couple local bowlers out here starting out the first week, and they didn't fare very well against those Buffalo bowlers. What's your strategy?
I'm left-handed.
So lefty taking on a lefty.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Is that an advantage here at Jamestown Bowling Company?
They say so. It's Jim's house, so.
Have you bowled on TV before this?
Yeah, I made the old Jamestown TV challenge probably 20 years ago.
All right, are you ready to take this on with the lights and all of that?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Final match of the day here in week 2 at the Jamestown Bowling Company. Tony Dolan goes for his 4th consecutive win. The challenger, you saw briefly, you'll see more of him in a moment, is Jamestown native Terry Parson. So part of that contingent of 6 Jamestown bowlers making their debuts, and none of them have won yet, and now it's up to Terry Parson to keep the pride of the Furniture City going strong here.
The one difference with Terry is he is a left-hander. So
a big difference.
We'll see. He will be dealing with, you know, all that change and transition that's occurred on the right side of the lane.
So here is our first look at 41-year-old Terry Parson from nearby Randolph, New York. Cumulative average for Terry of a little over 200. Had a good qualifying effort to make the show here. And there's our first throw from Terry Parson, and it's a strike. So we've got our first lefty versus lefty match that we've had here at the JBC. And we'll see how that changes the dynamics here. JamestownBowling.com is all the information you need for schedules and leagues and everything going on here at the Jamestown Bowling Company. And of course, for all of your Beat the Champ info, it's at Beat the Champ TV, hashtag Beat the Champ, and make sure you like us on our Facebook page for the updates on the qualifying, which is this weekend at the Kearns Avenue Bowling Center, and then all results and schedules and everything else. And boy, good, strong stroke there for Terry Parson. Strikes on the first 2 frames.
Well, that's an impressive way to come out of the gate. We haven't seen that yet, but you know, I want to mention that the owner here at Jamestown Bowling Company is left-handed, so it's really only right that the left side would play better than the right.
So everything is tilted. Is that what you're saying, Jim? You designed this place with a little tilt. And a strike for Tony Dolan. So we got nothing but X's across the board here on the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard to get things started through the first 2 frames. That's the easiest scoring Janelle has ever had to do.
Even though they're both left-handed, you still see them approaching the lane different. Terry hooks the ball more, he's less down and in than Tony is, has more revolutions. He's actually playing deeper on the lane, which you really don't see much out of lefties. You see lefties being mostly down and in, where you'll see that Terry kind of opens the lane up a bit.
See the smile on Tony's face there? That pin was horizontal to the lanes, and it took about 4 of the other pins out, and he knew that he got a nice break on that one. Right, there's good and there's lucky, and then there's lucky and good. And a little unlucky there for Terry Parson, as he couldn't get enough pin action to knock those two down. So we're off to a good start here, a good match between Terry Parson and Tony Dolan. Terry bowls on Mondays in a league in Salamanca, Central Lanes. 181 average there.
Now that's a lower average than we're used to seeing, you know, out of these guys. And he did say that coming here, you know, being that he was left-handed, he felt like he would score well here, which was part of his reasoning for coming here to bowl the show when we talked to him earlier. So, but that's still might be a little tough shot there. Sometimes sport shot will show a lower average.
Sure. But as you see, overall average is just a little over 200, and a little fist pump from Terry Parson for a fourth frame strike. And now we move back over to Tony. You know, it's interesting. Tony's now won 3 in a row. His overall beat the champ record up to 10 wins and 8 losses. And when he got started in last week's show, he said the one anomaly of the beat the champ's first year was Tony Dolan, as great as he is, had not had a lot of success. Right. Had lost more matches than he had won. And some of that was unlucky. Some of that was just catching guys at the wrong time. But this is the best run that Tony Dolan has been on since he's been on this show.
So 2017 is going to be the year of Tony Dolan.
It might very well be the year of Tony Dolan. Young bowlers all over Western New York may be buying sunglasses and glaring at the camera all over Western New York.
I will say that, you know, just from my experience, Tony has a big cheering section, and he's well recognized in the community for being on Beat the Champ, so he must be doing something right.
And speaking of doing something right,
perfect through 5.
Perfect through 5. We'll let that simmer there for a moment. And now Terry Parson knows he's got his work cut out for him. So as we talked about, the setup to the beginning of our shows last week was 6 Jamestown house bowlers here at the Jamestown Bowling Company, but 6 guys who've never been on the show before. We've gone through 3 of them. Terry's the 4th. None of them have won yet. Give me your theory as to why.
Well, my theory is that what we talked about, you know, earlier was that the atmosphere is so different that even though the lane conditions can be the same, the environment has a lot to do with it, and the camera and the lights and the quiet plays a lot into your head and experience. And they've come up against seriously experienced bowlers, and you know, George Zabluski and Chuck and Tony, and Buffalo puts out some great bowlers. Yeah, well, we have not had 2 of the Jamestown guys bowling against each other yet, obviously, because none of them have won. Right. So like you said, they've gone against, you know, the other guys here in Jamestown are big names like Tony and Chuck and George.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
See, that one was not as high flush, and you know, the ring 7 that it's kind of been plaguing him the whole day. Not plaguing him enough to lose, mind you, but you know, that's a source of frustration for him. He can't throw it any better. He can't put it any place different.
Yeah, well, sometimes the lanes just don't cooperate, nor do the pins. Spare in the 8th frame for Tony Dolan.
And that's the important thing, is that you keep your composure and you make your spares. Sometimes these ring 10s, ring 7s for us bowlers will get us aggravated, and we're too busy grumbling about that to give proper attention to making the spare. So that's super important that you make that spare and then put your mind on the next shot.
Well, it's a lead for Tony Dolan at the moment as he heads to the 9th frame. Not a sizable lead, though.
14 pins.
And kind of a replay and a little shake of the head from Tony as that's a second or third time, at least a second time, if not more, that same shot's plagued him here in this match.
That's all he's left. It's been strikes and 3 ring 7. Oh no, he had the 6 pin. I'm sorry. I apologize.
So Tony Dolan's looking for a sweep of the week here, and a win would give him 4 in a row. He's such a good spare maker that it doesn't hurt him as much as it might hurt other people who aren't as good at getting those spares.
Well, it's important. It keeps him in these matches, and he's probably won a few of these matches by making those spares.
So the lead is up to 33 pins at the moment, but Terry Parson's got a chance to cut into that as we move to the 9th frame.
Same pin.
Same thing, repeating the same thing with the 7 pin. Now, is that at all a product of moving along in a match where guys are at the same places on the lane, lefty thing? Is that not a coincidence that both guys are doing the same thing a little bit?
No, they are definitely, their break points probably about the same, but I think it's more of a characteristic of the house that that particular hit rings a 7. You just have to approach the pocket a different way, and like I said, that's hard to do when you're in this 1-game match. That you don't want to lose the pocket either.
All right, so what does Terry need to do here in the 10th frame? What's
right
he
now
looking
it's a
for?
15-pin match, so obviously I think he wants to throw all 3 of them and force a strike out of Tony.
There's one.
There's one. That's certainly going to give him the best chance here. He's going to need all 3 to put any serious pressure on Tony.
Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard tells you the story as we head to the 10th frame here. 2 more strikes for Terry to finish out will force Tony Dolan to spare,
Good
but
count
continue to bowl the way he's been bowling. There's 2 of the 3 he needs.
Really very impressive showing here by Terry, though. He's made some really great shots and picked up a split. So maybe the secret to the match, the really great match, was the 2 left-handers, because this has been, they've been neck and neck the whole game.
So here's the final one for Terry Parson. Can he keep this stretch alive here in the 10th frame? Let's find out. He does. Good, strong finish for Terry Parson. A 234 on the board for Terry. And now Tony Dolan just has to be steady.
So what he needs here is at least 7 on his first ball. I mean, there's still a little margin for room here for, Terry can sit here on the bench and watch.
Nice easy throw, and boy, there's the 7, barely.
Well, he actually needs to make this. He needs to make this and strike.
He needs to make this split, huh?
He needed 7 spares.
Wow, what a dramatic turnaround here. And this is
so we're going to watch him try to shoot
very
this.
difficult shot. And it doesn't happen, and what a dramatic turnaround here, right in the 10th frame, and it winds up a 1-pin 234 to 233 win for Terry Parson. Amazing.
That was a big shot right there.
And give Terry credit for, you said it, he needed 3 strikes, he got it, and that was the difference in the match.
Wow.
Amazing finish to this one. Kind of came out of nowhere, but Terry Parson finally gets the Jamestown guys to hold their head high a little bit here. So, wow, that was pretty dramatic. We'll talk to Tony Dolan about what went down, and we'll talk to Terry Parson about moving on to next week's show. What an amazing couple of matches we've had here in the last two. We'll wrap it up for you when Sue and I return. It's Beat the Champ at the Jamestown Bowling Company. Good stuff going on here. Well, an amazing and dramatic match that comes right down to the end with Terry Parson winning 234 to 223 over Tony Dolan. You had it in control. All you needed was kind of finish strong. What happened in the 10th frame?
I don't know if it was memories from Mancuso's or whatever, but got a little fast to the line and yanked it and right through the nose.
Yeah, nobody seems to be more snake bit than Tony Dolan, no matter where we go. But this was a good little run for you. Feeling a little better about how things are going on this show?
Absolutely. It was a fun day down here in Jamestown.
All right, well, we've got some tickets to the Lucy Desi Museum for you while you're here in Jamestown, and Jim Meade from the Jamestown Bowling Company has some prize money for you as well,
nice little payday, Tony. $350 cash, Jamestown Bowling Company.
Thank you, Jim.
Great bowling. Thanks, Tom.
Right. And guess what? We get to see a little more of one of our Jamestown guys, Sue.
That's right. Now we have an opportunity to see how many wins you can rack up and how much prize money that we can hand over to you someday.
Well, we're just going to take it one match at a time and see what happens.
And we're also going to have a tire rotation and oil change at Jim White's and a $25 gift card for the Stagecoach West.
All right, thank you very much.
So you use that to you're prepared to come back for your next week.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, guess what? We're going to see Terry again next week. We've got another good lineup of bowlers, including a couple of more of his Jamestown buddies. That'll be on next week's show. Sue and I will get you ready for that. When we return, it's BTC at the JBC, and we're back right after this. Well, Sue and Janelle, I don't know that we've had a more dramatic show on Beat the Champ in the last 6 months or so. We had the great match between Tony and Chuck, and then that last match with Terry and Tony was pretty amazing.
That's right, and it's nice to see that the bowlers are getting little runs going. We had Tony actually have a nice run, be able to be awarded $350 for his efforts, and so now we're going to start the prize fund back up again with Terry, and he'll have a good chance to make some money.
Were you feeling a little bit of the buzz here now that we've got a Jamestown guy that finally came up with a win?
Yeah, definitely. It's been a lot of fun so far today.
Well, and guess what? We've got two more Jamestown bowlers as our first two guys in line for Terry Parson to start next week's show off. So we got a real Jamestown feel besides being in Jamestown, and that'll be on next week's show. Thanks for watching this week's edition of Beat the Champ.